How much of the? I mean, I understand, I guess, what we're hearing a little bit from, liberals or the left on some level, because I think it's just an intense desire not to give credit to Donald Trump. I can understand that. I think that's wrongheaded in this context because there's much bigger issues at play. But when you look at someone like Bolton, and I wonder if there isn't another part of the U.S. national security apparatus that isn't reluctant, because I'm not quite sure why Bolton would be per se. I mean, I just know that he would be. I mean, he clearly was trying to blow this thing up by comparing them to Libya. That is not a buy this product and you'll end up just like the guy whose house burned down because they used it, essentially, is what he was pitching.
Right.
But is there, I mean, with 30,000 some odd troops, U.S. troops there, are there are there elements of the U.S. national security apparatus that are like, hey, this is bad for business on some level?
Well, yes, there's a lot of, so-called North Korea experts here in the think tanks that don't want to diminish the U.S. strategic role in South Korea at all. I mean, they want to maintain these bases forever. And, I think that should be a decision that's up to the South Korean people. There's a lot of mixed feelings there about the U.S. role. But I think that what a lot of people don't understand is that even North Korea, Kim Jong-un and his previous governments in North Korea, when they've entered into negotiations, the North Koreans have said, once a peace treaty is signed and a peace regime is set up, they might be willing to accept the presence of U.S. military forces in South Korea for a certain amount of time, even after an agreement. And in some ways, in recent weeks, we've seen China has taken a harder line than North Korea on the U.S. forces in South Korea. So I think there's a lot of misunderstanding of what North Korea wants out of this. But I think mostly it wants to be viewed as a normal nation and perceived that way. I mean, it's to me it's conceivable that they will eventually give up their nuclear weapons and perhaps send their warheads to some other country and get rid of their plutonium program and uranium enrichment program under international supervision. But they have to be convinced, and there's got to be very strong U.S. security guarantees that it's not going to try to attack them again. It's not going to try to attempt regime change in whatever form. I mean, they've got to be convinced of that. There's got to be those very strong guarantees. And I think that's part of what is being discussed. I mean, look, Pompeo went to North Korea twice, met twice with Kim Jong-un. And, of course, this gentleman who was here the other day, Kim Yong-chol, who's number two guy, who used to be the head of North Korean intelligence, was at those meetings, too. So they have hashed out a lot of this already. And, Pompeo made it very clear that all these issues were on the table. So, I think that what we're going to see in Singapore is I'm hearing that one of the centerpieces is going to be, support for a peace treaty. And it's possible that South Korean President Moon Jae-in may fly in for the second day when they will kind of celebrate this, end of the Korean War. And Trump has been kind of hinting at this and talking about it himself. And that is a huge, huge thing. That is just that would be an enormous event in our history to end that.